I talked to the owner. There's like multiple ways of saying brewed pub. You can either say brewed pub or brewed pub. It's not clear. And he said, just it's like a Rorschach test. Just like do what you wish. I think we got beautiful weather. We are so blessed to be able to kind of come together today. I'm really excited about this. This is a really cool pub. It's been around since like the 80s. It's really old. It's been around so long that they used to pull together voters before election day, get them drunk, and put them out to the polls. So I love the history. If you look around, this room is the Washington room, and I picked it because one, I love Washington, and I honestly, without him, we wouldn't have had democracy in this. Yesterday, does anybody know what yesterday was? It was an exciting day. It was not July 4th, but it was the anniversary of when the Declaration of Independence was announced publicly, which is kind of cool. And they rang the Liberty Bell and everything like that. And what Jefferson has a lot of great sayings, but one of my favorites is the saying, and I think we all know it, we have certain inalienable rights, among those life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. I want to focus on the pursuit of happiness part. He didn't say that we have the right to happiness. He said the pursuit. We have the right to advance our station beyond where we are. We have the right to capture opportunity and go for it. And so I think that's just Middletown, Frederick, they're all older than the United States. Frederick's been around since 1748. That's what is these towns that Jefferson was talking about. These towns here in Maryland, here in Virginia as well. So I'm going to talk a little bit, but I'm honestly more curious about what you guys have to say. There's certain gymnastics about announcements. You got to explain who you are, where you come from, your platform, and everything like that. And we're going to get to that in a second. But I do want to hear from you guys. So there's a suggestion box over there. If you have any suggestions on ways that we can improve the council and bring bring Frederick forward in a better way than has been over the past term, please provide them. Make sure that if I don't have your address and contact information, we have a sign-up sheet over there. Please fill it out. But so my biography, like I said, Lincoln once said, "The character is like a tree, and reputation like a shadow. The shadow is what we think of it. The tree is the real thing." Well, I'll tell you, the roots of my background are from my parents. They built my character. They built who I am. The soil is Frederick. And that's how the values of the community in Frederick, of freedom and opportunity, that has driven me throughout my whole life. Now, my father, who you can see over there, he grew up in Baltimore, and honestly, it was one of the worst parts of Baltimore back in the 50s and 60s. There's a lot of stories to tell about that, but one is that he used to play football. He was a wide receiver. He used to play football in the graveyard. If that doesn't bring a new definition to tackling dummy, I don't know what is. But even though he grew up in Baltimore, he didn't accept, he wasn't willing to accept that was where he's going to stay. What he did through hard work, perseverance, and education was improve his station. He hitchhiked off to the University of Maryland to get his college degree, even though his father wouldn't drive him. He got his education. He met my mother. He actually met my mother. She was walking down the street in Baltimore. They both grew up in Baltimore. And actually circled the block 2 or 3 times, and then asked her if she wanted to ride somewhere. I couldn't imagine doing that today in Baltimore. But back in the early 70s, I guess that could be done. But after that, they moved to Frederick. They moved to Mount Airy. And if you go to where I'm from, it's a little street off of Buffalo Road. You'll see that Buffalo Road is actually split in two, right? One half is Frederick, one half is Carroll County. But they moved there for a reason. They moved there because Frederick was a county, was a land that provided opportunity that other places did not. It had a level of freedom. My father started a business. My mother is a teacher and an actress. You can see her on The Wire if you wish to. It's on season 4. But they started with a plot of land in the woods in Mount Airy. They built it into a home where they raised me. I did the school stuff. I went to Newmarket, Twin Ridge for elementary, and then I went to Linganore for high school. When I was at Linganore, I started what we call a young politicians club. It was one of my first forays into doing political stuff. It was bipartisan, multi-partisan. We even had a weed club. and it was an opportunity for everybody to talk about politics. But that's when I kind of got engaged in Frederick local politics. I volunteered for early on in a local campaign down there. I can't even remember when that was, 2002, 2000. I know Michael Steele was running. I know that much. And it was a great opportunity. And I'll tell you, from the opportunity, what it was is that Kelly Schultz was my volunteer coordinator. We started out knocking on doors. We didn't stop. And that's exactly how we're going to win this campaign. We're going to knock on doors, meet voters, talk to voters, and more. So then, went to college at Hopkins, got my grad degree at Georgetown, where I met the love of my wife, Samira Diggs. And Samira is put together. She's the director of this whole event. So congratulations. Thank you. Met the love of my wife, Samira Diggs, and we got married in 2015. Our anniversary is coming up. I need to get a gift. I know. And it's late. I will.
I don't have one yet either.
Okay, good. We got married in 2015, and we moved to Frederick last year. We moved back. I moved to Frederick for the same reasons that my parents moved to Frederick, to be honest. I thought it was a good place to build a family. I thought it was the perfect place to build a family. And it's for the reasons that they did too, because of the community, because of the values that are enshrined on this land that have been here since the 1700s. One thing that we do talk about is that I work at the International Republican Institute. We have some friends also from IRI here. What we do is that we essentially we work with folks that want to promote democracy in their countries to do so. We work with citizens to better talk to their elected officials. We work with community groups not too different from like Marxist Republican Club, to better organize and better, provide a voice for people. But
it's yours.
That's true. You're right. It's ours.
I just happen to be there.
And then we work with political parties. That's how we started to better connect people with their government. And I work in the Middle East, and my job there is essentially to determine whether or not those programs are effective, whether or not we get state money from the State Department and the USAID. My job is to determine, okay, are we using taxpayer money well? And some cases we do, some cases we don't. But when we don't, we try to find out ways that we can better use state funds. That's the kind of evaluative thinking that I want to bring to the council, to be honest. I think that policy is at its best when it lets folks pursue their dreams. We talked about the pursuit of happiness. I think that government might dominate headlines, but it should not dominate people's lives. And that's what drives me to be a small government conservative, is that The best is when we can get government out of the way. There's some things that government has to do. Let's get government out of the way and let people do what they want. And that especially in Frederick. Maybe in Montgomery County, that's not how it works. But here in Frederick, that's how we do it. And that's how we have done it. I'm starting to fear that's not the direction that the council's going. And so, for that reason, I think we can find a better path forward. Forward's going to come. Growth is going to come. People want to come to Frederick for the same reasons that I moved back to Frederick. The same reasons, honestly, why my parents moved to Frederick in the 80s. That's going to happen. But we can find a way forward that is also anchored in our principles as people of Frederick. Good people, families, values. Those are what has made Frederick great since 1748, right? It's these institutions. It's the clubs. It's the bowling clubs. The softball teams. It's families. Those are the foundations of a great county. And I've talked a lot. We're going to talk about my principles in a second. But honestly, as I said, I'm an evaluator. What I usually do is I talk to the people that we're trying to help and try to determine whether or not we are effective. I'm a listener by trade. So the next step of this campaign after this announcement is that we're going to go to all the communities in Frederick. We're going to talk to them. We're going to find out what their passions are, what their priorities are, what their needs are, where they want, what their vision of a better way forward for Frederick is. And then that's going to inform us. I will give you my principles. I will be honest with my principles, and those are going to stand. As Jefferson said, it matters of style, swim with the current. It matters of principle, stand like a rock. So my principles will be the rock, but how we get there will be informed by the people of District 1. As I said, no surprise, I'm a conservative. I've worked in campaigns since I was a teenager. I went to academia, and honestly, if you can stay conservative while at Hopkins and Georgetown, then you are standing like a rock, as Jefferson said. And I am confident in my conservative principles that those are the best ways forward when done right. And I've been to DC. I've seen how I've worked for different congressmen. I've worked for senators. I've worked in think tanks and all that stuff. And I'll tell you what. One thing I've learned is that they're a mess. It should be no surprise to anybody. They are a mess. No, that's a bipartisan issue, by the way. They are both a mess. And I think this is how it should be, and not the mess. How it should be is that politics should be most at the local level. Tip O'Neill was right. He was a Democrat, he was right. Politics is local. And that's where we can have the most impact. And at the council, when I came back to Frederick, I realized, the council has a significant impact on people's lives, good and bad. And we have Councilman DeLauder here. He can tell you all about it all day long. And that's why I think we need to make sure we need people in the council who are going to push forward Frederick in a way that is anchored in our values, in what makes Frederick great. And I recognize that some of this is a little headstrong. I recognize that I just moved back to the county last year, and it would be easy. Honestly, I have a young son, a newborn. He's competing with Samir as the cutest person in our family. But it'd be easy to just sit by. Take care of my son, complain about what's going on in the council, preach on a bar stool, kick up a lot of sound and fury, and all of it signifying nothing. But, I can't do that. I can't sit by and do that, and I'm not going to. I have a responsibility to him. I have a responsibility to Pax, and I have a responsibility to the other children in Frederick, to make sure that we are building a better path forward that provides them that opportunity and freedom that drew me back home, that drew my parents here. That's why I'm announcing my candidacy for District 1 of the County Council. And this isn't about me. It can't be. If it is about me, I can't win. It's about you guys. It's about the people of District 1, it's about the people of Frederick. And that's why only with you can we make change. Together, we can make the county council work for the people. Together, we can make the county council talk to the people. One of the issues that I think, and I talked about on the radio, one of the things that I think that needs to change more is that the council needs to be more transparent. I think we can get there. You know, I think we can get to a point where the council is not driven by, you know, special interests and different ideologies and stuff like that, but we're zeroed in, we're honed in on providing opportunity for people. But look at the past 4 years in the council. Taxes are high, right? I read a lot of the great editorials by Mark here in the Frederick News Post. It's fantastic. Taxes are higher, government's bigger. Inefficiency is high. The civility code. Have you guys read the civility code? There's a civility code in the council. You know, it says stuff like "be nice and smile," essentially. You know, and that's all fine. But I think it's one perfect example that you can't legislate behavior. We're gonna work together, and hopefully we'll have an executive that will help lead us as well in that way. We're going to work together to make sure that the council is not stuck in infighting, is more focused on providing a better future for folks like tax. So Ronald Reagan, again, one of my favorite politicians, said the government is like a baby, just like tax. An elementary canal with a big appetite on one end and no sense of responsibility on the other. And I think we've certainly seen that with the council. That more again and again, we see the council just growing government and reaching into our wallets. We're not going to let that happen. Not with me on the council, I'll tell you that. I fear that what we're moving towards is more of Montgomery County. I mean, when we moved to Frederick, we had options. I mean, honestly, I worked in Frederick. I mean, I worked in D.C. We could have lived in D.C. We could have lived in Montgomery County. But you know what? Montgomery County is too darn expensive. Couldn't move there. Property prices are too high. Everything that you buy is too expensive. Taxes are too darn high over there. It would not be affordable. We moved to Frederick because of the values. And also because, honestly, those values have made Frederick livable. And so my principles, and that guides a lot of my principles. My first principle is lower taxes, simplified taxes. You know, I want to keep government out of our wallets. Now, I recognize that there are some things that government has to do. That's understandable, and of course. But honestly, the middle class in Frederick, in this country, the middle class is under siege. The middle class is paying too much and receiving too little in return. And what we're going to do, I mean, July 1st just passed, and you probably all got your county bills. We're going to try to seek the ways to either keep the tax rate as it is or lower it. And the goal is to lower it. I'm a small government conservative. I think government's at its best when it's small. I quoted Jefferson and Reagan. I think that those forefathers would agree as well. Past 3 years, you've seen it, taxes rising on property. Government's still growing. Rather than raising taxes on the family, let's reduce it. My other focus. I believe that we need to have an approach towards education that's student focused. I support education, I support our teachers. My wife's a teacher. I think that we do need to support, and that's going to be a priority of mine, supporting education. Education can be in many different ways. It doesn't just have to be public. I think we can support alternative ways of education. Lord knows the council does not do that much as far as education policy, but what we do is we have the purse strings, right? And that's where we're going to seek to try to both support education, but also support students, not just support the institution of school. and that's going to be the focus of students. And then my final principle, and I have other principles by the way, but these are going to be the priority for the council, is that I believe in smart growth. I believe that, look, growth is going to come. People are drawn to Frederick just like I was, just like my parents are. It's happening. Let's make Frederick into a hub that draws in business, that, yes, recognizes that development's happening, but we're not going to become a steel jungle, right? Like just like Montgomery County is. That has businesses and infrastructure and frankly developments that make sense. Let's make it logical. Let's not dither like frustrated Guinevere's as the council did when it came to the solar bill. Let's be efficient. Let's make decisions that benefit the county, and let's make decisions that make sense for the county. I'm brimming with optimism. Just like when my father moved to Frederick, I think that we can, all this stuff is within our capacity. All this stuff is what needs to happen for Frederick, and let's do it, right? Let's get going and let's do it. So I'm excited. I want you to join me, please. I mean, if you want to provide a donation now or in the future, we have envelopes. Talk to Lucas and Mira. They can give you your envelopes. But the next step, as I said, is the listening tour. And I want to fully, and that's going to take a while. And what we're going to do, and we're going to be fundraising on the side there, but what we're going to do is we're going to try to fully grasp what the passions and priorities of the people of District 1 are. We're going to put that out into some policy statements that are going to come out in late fall. And I'm brimming with excitement. Let's do this. Join me, and we can make a better path forward for Frederick. Let's do it. And please, have some more beer. It's delicious. 21 on tap.
Do you have any questions?
Yes. Do you have any questions?
Okay.
Wait, you say that until I stop recording.
Oh, we still got camera. We're in control. No, please, any questions, please.
Let me, as a council member, you're talking about taxation.
Yep.
Holding the constant yield is one thing. Lowering taxes with discretionary spending, I'm not sure if you can do that.
Yeah.
But what you want to look at is the same thing we look at every year. That even this year, I had 28 budget amendments. Tony Strong had like another 20 or 22.
Mm-hmm.
All but one were shot down. Okay, but I took almost $10 million out of that budget to keep us a constant yield, and I think that's where you want to be. I don't know if you can go below that just because county employees, they need raises like everybody else. And again, before I got county governor, I thought most county employees, just there were too many, or they weren't doing enough, whatever. There's a lot of good people in there, so don't. I was looking at things wrong before I got in here because I didn't feel that way. But today I do feel there's a lot of good people. Sure. And you do have to trim that up and make sure, and you're exactly right, the county government has grown a little bit more out of control in the last 3 or 4 years. You're right about that. But the things you want to look at, I think, is just that constant yield and making sure that we're not hiring people for $55,000 a year to inspect your recycling. Things like that.
Yes,
There's things in that budget that we can take out of there, and that's what I think you want to focus on. And you're on the right track of that, so I do appreciate that.
Absolutely. And what I'll say is that, what we should, hopefully when I'm in office and you're in the office and you're executive, hopefully what we can do is, look at the budget. And if
when I'm executive, that budget can be tight.
There we go. That's what I'm talking about.
So then